Imagine you said the first thing that you write has to be in Hollywood. The first song that you write has to be at the top of the Billboard charts. That's the problem, that we have these over-amplified views. Now that goal is not bad, but feeling like that's gonna be your first break, that doesn't make any sense. So often when you're working for that, you keep failing. It doesn't work because you just can't get through to that person. And you think, oh my God, my idea is never gonna be famous. But the funny thing is that you've got all these other ways of writing. Work your way up. It's okay. People quit all the time, right? Winners quit all the time. They quit at the right stuff. I remember for the last few years, a lot of people were telling me to get into politics, and I used to just laugh at this because it's just not my space. It's not a passion that I have. And so if I had ever tried to make it into politics, I potentially could have failed and I would have lost drive. But what I've been working on, what I'm doing right now, I've been working on it for about 10 years and I've never lost drive and motivation. It could be that you're losing motivation for something that you don't care about. Analyze and assess whether the reason for losing motivation is that you don't care or that you're just getting lazy or complacent. Figure that out first.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I was making $300 a month. I quit on my business partner, and the thing that saved me was studying the stories of super successful entrepreneurs. So I hope that this story today helps give you the motivation you need, because I still need it too myself. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jay Shetty, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, press pause.
Albert Einstein famously remarked in a conversation with Werner Heisenberg, he said, you know, in the West, we've built a beautiful ship and in it, it has all the comforts. But actually the one thing that it doesn't have is a compass, and that's why it doesn't know where it's going. This paradox of our times was propounded by the Dalai Lama when he said we have wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We have taller buildings but shorter tempers. Will Smith said that we spend money we haven't earned on things we don't need to impress people we don't like. And it's phenomenal how the same technology that brings us close to those who are far away takes us far away from the people that are actually close. 30 billion WhatsApp messages are sent per day, but 48% of people say that they feel lonelier in general. The paradox of our times is that we have more degrees but less sense, more knowledge but less judgment, more experts but less solutions. It was Martin Luther King who said that the irony of our times is that we have guided missiles but misguided men. Have you ever found it perplexing that we've been all the way to the moon and back, but we struggle to start a conversation across the road or across the train? And it's amazing that Bill Gates was known as the top earner in 2015 with a wealth of 79.2 billion, but 1 in 4 CEOs claim to be struggling from depression. Do we actually thrive off this paradox? Is it that this paradox actually makes the media interesting? It's what makes journalism interesting. It's what makes politics interesting. It's what makes television interesting. Is this paradox actually what we feed off and what we live off and what we talk about and discuss in our circles? Doesn't it seem that we've tried to clean the air but polluted our soul? We've split the atom but not our prejudice, and we're aiming for higher incomes but we have lower morals. So I'm hearing you ask, how do we bring a change? How do we dissect this paradox that exists in our lives? And it starts by us, each of us, pressing pause, pressing reset, and then pressing play again, taking a moment to become more conscious, taking a moment to become more aware, taking a moment to really reflect on the consequence, the implications of a misplaced word, of an unnecessary argument that we all know we didn't need to have, or to speak to someone just slightly differently, in a different tone, in a different voice, in a different empathy, with a different perspective, just to really connect with people on a different level. This thinking out loud started from Albert Einstein, and I'll track back to him when he actually said that the problems we have today can't be solved with the same thinking we used when we once created them. So actually we need to research alternative teachings. We need to deep down dig into those ancient books of wisdom. We need to go back to understanding if there's anything written in those creased pages of time that can actually reveal more knowledge and more wisdom of how we can transform our experience of life today. Otherwise, this paradox means that every step forward we take, we're taking 3 backwards every time.
Rule number 3, know your worth.
Making sure, I think people think of this time when they're single as like taking care of themselves and finding themselves again. But a big part of that is actually learning to value your worth and your power and who you are and how much you really have to offer in a relationship and how you already have that. So it's not like a relationship is going to help you understand whether you have enough to give or not. you already know what you have to give because you've spent this 1.5 years being satisfied, being by yourself, being strong on your own. And so now when you walk into a relationship, it's knowing your worth and knowing that you already have value to bring because you've done the work. Now, in a relationship, I think what we often forget is as well, and it's interesting you use that language, because in any relationship, we're either the parent, the child, or a partner. And so when we start behaving like a parent, we inform our partners to behave like a child. And often that's what ends up happening, is that as we try and play this parental role, they start acting more and more like children, and therefore we have to parent more and more and more, and then we overcompensate with overparenting. And the opposite is also true. If we act like a child, then our partner starts to act like a parent, and they feel overwhelmed and drained and burdened by having to run around us. And so the only way to try and really create a healthy relationship is to set a standard of being partners. And partners means we help each other out with our strengths, like their strengths help out our weaknesses, our strengths help out their weaknesses, but then we also help them build systems of support. We help them build what they need and not make us their need. And that's the challenge I think that we fall into, is we think, well, we need to be useful and needed for everything. And actually the greatest gift you can do is help them set up what they need and then focus on your needs at the same time. So if you're needed for every single thing in their day and their life, then you'll never get the time for yourself. And the only way you'll make time for yourself is if you set them up, but you also realize they're a partner in this, you're equals in this. Like, they're gonna have to find their own growth. They're gonna have to figure things out for themselves.
Rule number 4, master self-awareness.
Knowing how to differentiate the voices in your head is the first level of self-awareness.
So break down what system 1 and system 2 are.
Absolutely. So system 1 is your initial response to anything that happens. It's a stop that I can't really say. So if you say something I don't like, my system 1 naturally would be a face that I pull that I'm like, I don't agree with that. That's the understanding of what system 1 is. It's your initial default reaction in the moment. That can be positive often. For example, if someone pulls out a knife, you feel scared and you run. That's system 1. That's a good thing. It's safe for you. But also system 1 is someone says something that hurts your ego and you start defending yourself immediately. That's a negative of system 1. That we would refer to as the mind. It's built up of conditioning. Those responses are conditioned. Those default elements are all there because of habit and continuous practice. The system 2 is more like the intelligence. What I would say is more like the parent. If you can consider system 1 to be more like a child, system 2 is more like a parent. It looks more at the long term. It looks more at the bigger picture. It processes that default reaction through a set of checking and metrics to decide whether that's true. The child is the one that wants everything right away, impatient, quickly responding, straight away reacting when it doesn't get what it wants. The intelligent parent, a good one, knows what the child wants and needs and what's better for it in the long term. Just starting there and being able to reflect and observe the different voices inside of us is a great place to start your self-awareness. Because the biggest challenge is that most of us don't know what we're listening to. And most of us don't even know that there are more than one voice inside of us. Just getting over that line is a huge win, because now at least you're trying to differentiate in what you're hearing, and that's going to help you make better decisions in the future.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, find and keep love.
I think we live in this perception where we believe that if we wish, if we want, if we wait, love will arrive fully formed, when in fact it's really about intentionally building it step by step. And I'm usually one for breaking rules, but I believe that there are rules of love that actually help us navigate the challenges, to prepare for the imperfections, to accept that there will be conflict, there will be breakdowns, there will be disagreements. Often we think that love is perfect and that love is easy and that love should just flow. And that's true, it can be that way, but we often forget the difference between a relationship with yourself and a relationship with someone else is that you go from dealing with one mind to dealing with two minds. But if we're prepared for that, if we're ready for that, then we have a better chance at overcoming the inevitable difficulties that will arise. If you type the words, "will I ever," into Google, it predicts that the next words you'll enter are "find love." Because the question, will I ever find love, is what perplexes us most about our futures. It represents our anxiety, our insecurity, and our fear. What we don't realize, though, is that this anxiety is what forces us to make poor decisions in the journey towards finding love. And so I find that if you're still looking for love, take a moment to really reflect on when love comes into your life already through yourself or through others. Take a moment to make sure that you're spending time in places of equal value to the partner that you want. Make sure that you are giving yourself the type of love that you want to receive from someone else. We love love so much because we're wired that way. If you look at anything in the world, every part of nature is trying to give love or serve in some way. When you look at the ocean, it provides water for the entire planet. When you look at a tree, it provides shade, it provides fruits. And yet, as humans, we often focus on taking it and wanting it more than giving it. A 75-year study by Harvard showed that the number one indicator for human happiness was the quality of our relationships. And the quality of our relationships is based on the depth of our ability to love and receive love. And so to me, if we're talking about human happiness, if we're talking about human purpose, if we're talking about the pursuit of a beautiful, joy-giving, fulfilling life, then love and the ability to give and receive love is at the heart of that. A rule of love is that it unites us all by experience. So whoever you've dated, whoever has or hasn't worked out, whoever you had a crush on and you didn't get to be with, or someone who lost someone after many years of loving them, we are united in our search. We're brought together in our heartbreak, and we are coming together in our struggle. I think that the experience of love, no matter where we are in the world, is felt the same. It's why songs about love have the ability to transcend countries and regions and language, because the way we feel love is similar. The way we experience heartbreak is similar. You can seek love your whole life and never find it, or you can share love for your whole life and experience it every day. Experience it, practice it, live it, as opposed to waiting for it to find you. And when you do that, you get to experience the depths of love every single day, every single week, every single year for the rest of your life.
Rule number 6, define success for yourself.
If we look at the equation for success, if I had to write it down, if I had a whiteboard, I'd write it down. I'm not saying I've thought about this completely, but it's coming to my mind, so I'm going to share it with you. If we look at success, success equals hard work times by a positive attitude, plus courage, plus patience, plus resilience, minus ego, plus great people. Right now, let's just look at all of that. Success, one word, one feeling, whatever it is to you, equals whatever it has meaning, whether it's family, whether it's money, whether it's career, whether it's fame, whether it's happiness, whatever it is to you. It requires hard work times by a positive attitude, plus courage, plus patience, plus resilience, minus ego, plus great people, right? And you could probably change that equation. But if we take a look at that equation for a moment, every situation you're in on that journey is helping you learn one of those qualities. See, success and happiness are more about developing characteristics and qualities than they are about an achievement, because every situation, every experience that you have is teaching you one of those things. So that one was teaching me the principle of minus your ego, right? When no one turns up to hear you speak, I was learning what it means to minus ego. I was also learning patience, because I'd be going back every week hoping for the group to grow, which it naturally did. It was also teaching me resilience. When I was able to practice when there was no one in the room, it meant when the room was full, I was already ready to make it happen, right? So notice that each one of your experiences, and I'd like you to do this right now, I'd like you in the comment section to write an experience and write which trait or quality or characteristic of success you believe it's teaching you. And that's the whole point, that success is the accumulation or the collective focus of all of these characteristics and qualities adding up. I truly believe that we do need to bust this myth of overnight success, because what does a world that believes in overnight success do? It creates challenges, it creates problems. What does it create? It creates stress. A world that believes in overnight success creates stress, because when it doesn't happen, we feel stressed, we feel disappointed, we feel frustrated. So just by busting this myth, just by sharing this video, we're actually busting that idea. We're going to be able to bust stress, right? What does a world that believes in overnight success do? It creates us wanting to cheat, find shortcuts, manipulate people, stab people in the back, exploit people, because we want something now, we want it instantly. It doesn't make us value values, it makes us see them as not valuable at all. So we've got to really think about why it's so important to bust that myth.
Rule number 7, live on your own terms.
I honestly believe that there are so many constructs in society that make us feel like we have to do something or we should do something. What I'm saying is that just because you're not in love with someone else, that doesn't mean you shouldn't experience, feel, and create love every day in different ways, because love is a need. Love is who we are. Love is what we seek, but that doesn't have to be love with just one other person. And I think that that's often what's so limiting. So as long as you feel that you're developing love, giving love, feeling love, because the quality of our life is dependent on how much love we give and receive, I think then that's okay. You're allowed to not want to be in a relationship. You're allowed to not have a desire for that. You're allowed, and you should give yourself full permission to live a unique, less normal life. I mean, what is normal? What is expected? All of these things are just made up by someone. And so to me, I hope you feel a sense of relief. I hope you give yourself the space. And who knows, a year from now, you may feel differently, and that's okay too. So I think allowing ourselves to go with our intuition is a healthy thing. And ultimately remembering that love is more important than being in love with one person. And so your priority becomes being loving, creating love and loving connections.
Rule number 8, prioritize what matters.
What do you mean by balance? Balance is actually prioritizing what matters. That's actually what balance is. So as long as you're spending time on the things that matter to you and on the responsibilities you've accepted, the key is meaning. See, we can exert ourselves far beyond our wildest capabilities with meaning. I put on Rob Greenfield's suit yesterday. I've done fasting before. I've taught meditation for many days without sleeping and eating. I've worked on projects for days and nights without sleeping and eating. Why is that possible? It's because you see meaning in your work, right? When you see meaning in your work, you don't feel stress, you feel satisfaction, even when you're pushing and exerting yourself. So yesterday when I put on Rob's suit, it was so heavy that I'm convinced the only way he got through it was mental strength built on meaning. See, mental strength built on just motivation and willpower doesn't satisfy you. It doesn't make you happy. It's not going to really connect with you. You're not going to look at that and go, oh yeah, I'm satisfied. That works for me, right? Meaning is what's going to empower you. Mental strength based on motivation will not last long. Mental strength based on meaning will drive you to do incredible things, especially when that meaning is making a difference in the life of other people, serving other people, changing other people's lives, trying to be an influence in other people's lives positively. Those things will be massive. Pat.
Rule number 9, don't listen to the noise.
The biggest challenge is that there's just so much noise. It's like, have you ever had someone in your home, maybe it's your wife or maybe it's a friend or whatever, just play a really bad song too often, right? Just playing a song that you really don't like.
I actually heard my wife laugh because she knows how guilty she is.
Right, okay, there you go, right? There you go. And you just play a song and you just think, oh, turn that off. And after a while, it's been on for so long that you become immune to it. Like it's just there and it's still on. It's there in the back of your mind and you didn't manage to turn it off. So the noise that I describe in life, whether it's your parents' expectations, whether it's society's expectations, whether it's your partner's expectations, all of those are like noise in the background. And that noise drowns out your ability to understand the mind and the intelligence. That's one of the biggest trip-ups. I gave a presentation called Build a Life, Not a Resume. It's also one of my popular videos.
It's a very good video.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. And when I did the research, so you don't see this in the video because this research didn't make it into the video. But the research that I was doing was around the most common resume lies. The truth is, over 40 to 50% of us lie on our resumes.
Yeah, if you don't, you're missing an opportunity. I'll just say that.
Yeah, there you go, right? So, and I started to dig deeper and I was looking at, a lot of people lie about their dates of employment. So instead of 3 days, it's now 3 months, whatever it may be. Now, I dug deeper and I wanted to meet some of these people and speak to people. And so I spoke to people who lie on their resumes, and we know that at least 40 to 50% tell us they do. The thing is, no one was proud of that. No one was like, yeah, I know I'm gonna get. Really what it came down to is we're really insecure about our own abilities. Really what it came down to is we're not confident about what we have to offer. What it came down to is a lack of self-awareness. What it came down to is a lack of understanding. What am I good at? What am I passionate about? What am I bringing to the table? That's what people were really worried about. They were worried about the job, but when you dug beneath the surface, the real behavioral trait that was coming out was insecurity and being unconfident about one's potential. That tells us a lot. That indicates a lot about human behavior and human nature. That the noise from outside makes us want to fit into a container. And that stops us from differentiating between what is my mind saying and what is my intelligence saying. And what happens is that noise becomes your voice. So that noise becomes what you think is what you're saying. And most people don't realize that until 10, 20, 30 years down the line.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is develop a support system.
I would really encourage you to develop a fantastic support system around you. And it's really interesting. We use the word support system, but we don't have a system of support, as in we don't create a system out of it. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to think about the different things you get anxious about and try and pick one person in your life who you think can support you for each one. So if there's something specific you get anxious about, who in your life, who is a friend, a family member, someone that you could connect with. And there isn't a deep issue in this relationship, but there is a sense of fatigue, and that fatigue will drastically reduce. So I really hope that helps, Natalie.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it a lot. That makes a lot of sense. I think I have been a little bit unfair to him and putting a lot of pressure on him. So.
And at the same time, it's not that you're putting pressure on him. That's not a bad thing. Like, of course you want to lean on the person you love. Of course you want to lean on. It's more a side of finding the right people for the right pieces of insight that you need at this time. I was 15, I really needed the job. I'll even tell you what it was, I'll confess. I was applying to a local supermarket and I wrote down that I really, really, really wanted to work there. That was my life, there you go. And I've got nothing against supermarkets, they're awesome. I actually really enjoyed the experience afterwards and I'm glad I did it. How many of you have ever lied on a resume or a CV? Tell me right now in the comments and don't lie. Now I'm guessing most of you wrote down no. Well, that means that 57% of you are lying because that's how many of us embellish our skill set on our resumes.
Of course I lied on my resume.
55% of us lie about our responsibilities. It's when all you did was get Starbucks and coffee and you say that you were the team performance manager. Or maybe all you did was filing and copying, and you said you were the big project manager on the job.
I do everything around here, okay?
42% of people lie about the dates they worked. It's when you work somewhere for 3 days, but you wrote 3 months. Easy mistake.
Oops.
26% of people even lie about the company they work for.
I work for the CIA.
They interviewed 2,000 HR professionals and asked them what were the most memorable resume lies. I'm going to tell you them right now. Let's see if you can see yourself in some of them. Applicant claimed to be the assistant to the prime minister of a country that doesn't have a prime minister. Applicant claimed to have an Olympic gold medal. Applicant claimed to have 25 years of experience at age 32. 32 minus 25, 7. You started working when you were 7. Applicant applied for the same position twice with different work histories. Now, I don't know who's going to fall for that, but it's a pretty creative idea. I'd give them the job just based on that. So I started digging a bit deeper. I was looking at all these statistics and wondering and asking myself, why do we lie? Why is it that over half of the people in the world lie on their resumes to get these jobs, to get these positions? We need the money. That's true. We need to work. That's true. But there was something at the root cause of it that I want to talk to you about today. One of the biggest reasons is because there are so many job specifications and requirements out there now that are stopping us from feeling confident. But the root cause is self-awareness. When we were young, we had hobbies, we had passions, we had skills that we could articulate, that we could share with people. But as we've grown older, we've forgotten about them. We struggle to express our passion for absolutely anything. The more self-aware we become, the more confident we become about the skills that we have. We're so busy trying to convince people that we have skills that we don't even care about, that we forget the ones that we really already have. See, the truth is that everyone has potential and talent, but we've been made to believe that we need to have a certain checklist to give us a certain status. When reality is, a lot of the people who are doing what they love would never get a job in a place out there. We've been made to believe that there are certain skills and qualifications that define us, but I'm going to ask you to answer this question first. What do you love and what are you good at? Figure that out. What do you love and what are you good at? And invest in that. See, people say follow your passions. I say you can follow them, but make sure you work on them, make sure you invest in them, make sure you improve on them, because as you get better, as you grow in what you love and what you're good at, that's going to become the most powerful asset you have. So next time you think you're lying on a resume to get a job, think about whether that's a job you really want. The reason why people think you either have to be spiritual or financially successful is because they think, well, if you're going down the spiritual path, money can be a distraction, or if you're going down money, then spirituality will distract you. And that is true. That is real. Like, you can get really materialistic trying to be spiritual.
Sure.
And you can become distracted from your materialism by being spiritual. That is true. But the goal of life is to live in that paradox, like in that middle point of trying to figure it out. So I often say to people, like, I don't consider that and I know we both feel this way, we haven't figured it out. We don't know everything about everything, but I'm trying to toggle with that because I believe that the truth is in the middle. The truth isn't in the either or. There's another famous saying, I don't know who it's by, but it's something along the lines of, there are days when nothing happened and there are days where decades happen, or something like that. And it was one of those times where it just felt like so much just happened. It was almost like, so I'd been making content, teaching, speaking, meditating, researching, and sharing for 10 years up until this moment. So from age 18, when I met the monk, to age 28, I'd been presenting offline, teaching, making content,
social media content,
editing, social media. I'd been doing something for 10 years. And that year, that month.
Even before that, all the speaking classes and performing classes and
everything. Yeah, even before. Yeah, exactly.
It all built to that moment.
All in that moment. So it was 10 years. 10 years of hard work, like kind of all fructified, not in a way that I even imagined. And it was beautiful. Like I remember just feeling like this amazing feeling of, oh, wow. And here's the important part, the entrepreneurship part. I was demonstrating my skill. It was a skill that I'd spent way over 10,000 hours developing, both meditation and teaching and coaching and content. And that's what I think is so missing today, that when we talk about passion and purpose and all of these things, and you know this, it's what are you deeply actually good at? and skilled at and have an expertise in and love. Have you ever had that vacation that you've been getting ready for, that you've been so psyched about, and by the time you're ready, packing, getting ready to leave, what's happening? Stress, right? You're running around like, what do I pack? Did we put out the note for the dog sitter? Where's our Uber?
All right, here.
I know my wife and I can have our moments when we're both trying to tie things up and get ready for some time off, and it's ridiculous, right? That's how we're starting out. As we set out on our journey this new year, let's spend some time and energy deliberately setting our mindset. We're going to do it with gratitude, and here's how. Writer Marcel Proust once said, "Let us be grateful for the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom." Kelly McGonigal is a professor and researcher at Stanford University, and her work centers on this idea that stress is neither good nor bad. It's our reaction to it that matters. She says that one of the most effective positive ways we can deal with stress is to practice gratitude. But not just any kind of gratitude. Specifically, she says that it's the gratitude that focuses on others and their impact on our lives that's most effective. Dr. McGonigal says that stress is designed to motivate us, to get us to do something. In the case of the stress of loneliness, for example, it's designed to move us to connect. And when we can feel gratitude for things others have done for us, it helps us feel more hopeful, more willing to seek help and support, and to offer help and support to others. Sounds like an amazing mindset to start out with, right?
Yeah, it does.
So, every day, for 1 week, each morning when you get up, spend 3 to 5 minutes diving deep into one beautiful or meaningful thing someone has done for you in your life. Be specific. You're grateful to your mom for helping you with your homework, or you're grateful for your best friend in 5th grade for that time he stood up to someone who was bullying you. And of course, it can be something in recent memory too. Be sure to remember the sights, sounds, and smells and what was said, so you can really reinforce that memory in your body and in your brain. When I think back to all the biggest changes that I made or biggest progress that we've made, it all came from lots of small things. So at one point I remember sending an email every day to someone who I wanted to offer me a job. And I think about that getting the job was a big thing, but it came down to 30 emails. And those 30 emails came down to 30 moments. And those 30 moments came down to one intention, to want to live my purpose. And so you could say a really big thing happened based on a ton of really small things. And I think that's what's interesting, that it's always a collection of small things that lead to a big win, as opposed to one small thing or one big thing. Most of us are scared of trying because we're scared of a bad result. We're scared of rejection. We're scared of a negative outcome. And that often stops us from starting. I realize that if I get addicted to the process, if I get addicted to figuring out how I can pivot, how can I adapt, allowing myself to make mistakes, but constantly trying to tweak my approach and my methodology, then I'm convinced that I'll figure out how to get to the right outcome. So if the result isn't what I wanted, I go back to the process and I start adapting and messing around with the process. But if your focus always shifts back to the methodology and the approach, then you'll never go wrong, in my opinion. When you're going on a long car trip, you take your car to the mechanic first, right? To get things recalibrated, realigned, and ready to go. That's our second M. How we're going to recalibrate for our new journey is to adjust our self-awareness. Neuroscientist David Eagleman says that as far as our brains are concerned as adults, we are more like our peers than our childhood selves. Yet when we think about who we are, we mostly base our ideas on our younger self. So, tune up your self-awareness. You're going to go on a data gathering expedition among those who know you best. Simon Sinek, the author of Start With Why, has a great exercise for this. When people say, I don't know what I'm good at, or I don't really know what my unique abilities are, that's because it can be hard to get an accurate picture of yourself from the inside, right? There's a saying that you can't read the label from inside the jar. So you're going to ask people outside your jar to help you out.
Can you help me?
You're going to ask 3 to 5 people who know you well, it may be personal, professional, friends, to describe for you what makes you special. Ask them, Simon recommends, why are you friends with me? Why did you pick me as your partner? Or what makes me stand out as an employee? Or what do you really like about me as your parent? Now beware, most people will answer first with something general. You're smart, you're funny, you're a good listener. That's not deep enough.
Anything else?
Ask for more. For example, lots of people are funny. Why are you friends with me instead of someone else who's funny? Or lots of employees are dedicated. Can you give me more detail, like a specific incident or example that really showed you that?
Tell me more.
Then you'll start getting the truly helpful data and information, such as, I love the way you use humor to make other people feel welcome and comfortable. Or you have this ability to take our discussions deeper by bringing in insights from lots of other fields.
That's very nice of you to say.
You'll start to see yourself through others' eyes and get an understanding of what's working, what your strengths are that you can go deeper on and maximize, and what makes you uniquely you. Here's an awesome idea. Convene a feel-good roundtable in person or over Zoom with a few good friends or family members, or even do this with co-workers, where you go around and tell each other some of your greatest strengths in detail. Then you're spreading the love and the joy and the support as well, and it doesn't feel as awkward as just asking it for yourself.
Please don't make this awkward for me.
Okay, so what else do we need to start a journey strong? We need some idea of where we're going, right? A map. That's our third M. You've just learned about all these great things you've got going for you, but no doubt you also have an area or 2 or 12, that's me, where you'd like to grow. So we're going to create a map of how to get there. And one way you can do that is to pick a mentor. Someone who embodies that quality or those qualities you're looking to grow this year. One of my greatest mentors is Martin Luther King Jr., specifically the way he inspired people for a meaningful cause and connected people through his powerful words. Maybe if you want to become better at relating to others, your mentor is Oprah Winfrey. Maybe if you want to be more strategic and thoughtful when it comes to business, it's your father or mother. That was the case for John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods. His father was his business mentor for years. Maybe if you want to cultivate innovation or persistence, your mentor is someone like Sir James Dyson or Richard Branson. Next, figure out basic, simple ways to connect with your mentor regularly. If it's not someone you can connect with in real life, you can read their work, watch their videos, listen to a podcast, read about their lives, tape an inspiring fact about them or quote from them above your desk, or put it into your wallet. Remember, it's not that you want to mimic your mentor. You want to be yourself and combine those strengths you're developing with those great strengths you already have in place. But if you look at some of the geography your mentor has traveled, it can help provide you with your own map for developing those strengths.
You talked about the fear of fear and how you had to learn to let go of your fear of fear. What does that actually mean, letting go of the fear of fear?
Yeah, so I talk about how we fear the wrong things.
What do we fear?
So most of us are fearful of how our friends are reacting, what's happening on social media, and what's the random bit of news that we heard. None of it is fact-based. That's one of the biggest issues that we have.
It's worry-based.
It's worry-based, and it's also imagination-based. So we become fiction writers. We've all watched too many movies. Now we start writing these beautiful movies in our head. Well, not beautiful, scary movies in our head of what may happen. So our imagination, and Seneca said it best, we suffer twice. One in reality and one in imagination, right? We suffer twice. And this is the biggest...
What actually happens to us,
totally.
And then the story we continue to tell ourselves.
Totally. Now there's this incredible study in the book that I have to talk about. So they took monks and they took non-monks and they
competed against each other.
They competed against each other, literally. So they put this plate where you experience heat. And so what happens is the non-monks touch this plate. Now this plate heats up gradually, softly, and then at one point it gets really hot for 10 seconds and then it cools down. And so what happened is that when the non-monks touched it, the anxiety and pressure and stress in their brain just triggered straight away, even though it wasn't that hot.
It wasn't hot.
It was heating, but it wasn't hot to do anything major to you. But the anxiety and stress in imagination or in anticipation went through the roof in the non-monks. Now this is what's fascinating. When the monks touched it, they showed that it didn't feel anything as it rose, but as it got to its highest, they felt physical pain, but they showed no trigger of emotional pain because they did not assign any emotional element to that pain. So my point with that is, you can look at the news right now and you can get scared straight away, and get in complete freeze mode, feeling stuck, paralyzed, whatever it is, because what you're now doing is you're creating a story of what's going to happen. And that story...
And you can cause sickness in yourself.
You can cause sickness
just by the story,
yourself.
not actually
the reality.
The facts of the disease hitting you or something happening physically to you.
Totally. And that story, again, can be used positively. So your story may actually be true. But if it's going to be true, now you can prepare. And that shifts you away from being scared because now you're preparing.
Yes.
And so the real
You can be confident because you prepared.
Exactly. And so we should be shifting our fear energy into preparation energy. Because what fear does is it keeps you locked there, right? We just feel stuck. I'll give you an example. Like when you were preparing for big games, when you used to play in the NFL, right? And you're playing American football against some of the biggest athletes in the world, it's like you can either sit there and be scared that you're going to play this game on the weekend, or you can prepare. And your confidence is in the preparation. So when people go, how do I feel confident right now? Are you preparing?
Are you putting the reps?
Are you putting the reps?
Yeah.
Are you building your immunity? Are you taking your vitamins? Are you
drinking lots of water?
Are you drinking lots of water? Are you taking the steps that are needed to prepare for whatever's coming? You will feel more confident that way. Real empathy is connecting to someone in their emotional language, not yours. Right? That's real empathy. That's real connection. That's real compassion. Is that you're able to communicate with someone and express your thoughts in their emotional language, not yours. And this is something we struggle with because when we're feeling tired, exhausted, stressed, overworked, we communicate more in our language because we want to be heard, not realizing that when we fight for being heard, we actually alienate the other person. They're just disconnected because we're speaking a foreign language. That's literally what it sounds like. If this group is talking to this group and they're only talking about goals and schedules and plans, this group's going to say, but what about the people? What about people are exhausted, people are tired, what about how they feel? That doesn't mean they don't agree with you. They just want you to take into account people. It's not that they don't agree with your plans and goals and schedules and any of that. And you may sit there and go, well, they don't understand. They just don't get it. Like, we need to hit these targets. They don't understand. But you're both on the same team. You both need each other. Both mindsets are important. So then the question becomes, how do we care about people in the pursuit of our goal? And that's where all the focus goes. The focus now isn't, well, we're right because we're going to hit targets and that's what pays for everything. Or no, we're right because we care about people and obviously people are everything. It becomes, well, how do we hit our targets and care for people? How do we do that? If we both start having that conversation, you get some incredible synergy. So much of our life and society and our being today is divided. We have work and life. We have family and friends. We have personal and professional. And so many of our challenges in life come from the fact that we think we have to be in two places at once, that we have two sets of responsibilities. And when we talk about our well-being, we often think that's what we do after work. That's what we deal with when we get home. That's what we try and do on the weekend. And then when we're at work, we're wondering whether our well-being is in the right place. I've sat down and interviewed some incredible individuals, Jocko Willink being one of them. And when I've sat down with these Navy SEALs, I've talked to them so much about the power of breath, the power of presence, the power of stillness. We often think that force is the most powerful thing in the world. And sometimes when you speak to the strongest people in the world, they'll say it's not force, it's stillness. Right? Stillness is the most powerful thing in the world. Stillness creates more force than force itself, because that stillness creates clarity, it creates focus. So think about how you can find, again, just 2-3 minutes for that. All of these habits that I'm sharing today should take you no longer than 5 minutes each. And then finally, E, T-I-M-E. E is for exercise, moving, sweating. One of my favorite things is to see families compete over 10,000 steps. You'll be shocked at how much your partner is competitive when you all put on a Fitbit or a wearable or whatever it may be and see who gets to 10,000 steps first. The idea of moving is so powerful for our mind and our psychology. So those are 4 habits. Exercise probably a bit longer than 5 minutes, but the rest of them, if we could add thankfulness, inspiration, meditation, and exercise to our daily, weekly habits, you'll find that your personal well-being, your personal connection with yourself will elevate to levels that you never could have imagined. These simple habits have a giant impact. These simple daily investments have giant rewards. And they take very little time. They take very, very little time. And it's also a beautiful thing to bring to the table, to practice with your children, to practice with your partner. It's something that can be nicely brought into a family activity that makes it easier for each and every individual. So that's the first thing. The first thing is you. If your foundations are set, if you're feeling rooted and grounded, everything else is possible from that place. We can believe things at our core, but are we acting at them on our core? Right? Are we acting on them? Are we actually taking action? Are we actually becoming activated and making change or trying to make change? When we are believing, making things happen, actually attract resources. So focusing on resources at the get-go isn't necessarily what you need. What we need to do is focus on the authenticity of what we're trying to achieve. Vani, we always have doubt whether our opinion matters or not, and sometimes we think that our social status might hinder us from making change. How do we overcome this? Vani, great point. Let's take a look at the case for Malala. Social change is different from business. In business, our social status matters. In business, our achievements matter. In business, our grades matter, right? But social change is about authenticity and genuineness and the true belief in a cause. If you look at anyone having massive change today in those spaces, they may be coming from business and making change. That's awesome, right? They've already established themselves in another industry and now they're bringing that to something that they care about. But if you look at grassroots level change in any area, it's coming from people who don't have degrees in that area, who don't have a background in that area, who haven't made money in that area, but they care about it. And that's why an authentic program of change, not just speaking about stuff, not just writing about stuff, but actually creating small groups of change, small pockets of change, activating individuals to start making a difference. That's something that everyone can connect with. That's something that attracts attention. So when you're doubting your opinion or whether your opinion matters, recognize you're probably right. Most of our opinions don't matter. Everyone has an opinion. If I share something about Standing Rock today, so many people around us will have an opinion. But the key is how many people are turning that opinion into action. So it's true, our opinion may not matter, but as soon as we start turning that opinion into genuine and authentic action, that will attract interest from the right people. Most of us have been to school. Most of us may have been to college or university, but most of us will feel that our education let us down. Our education didn't give us the skills, the abilities, the mindset that help us thrive in life.
No, they did not.
And most of all, our education did not prepare us for our real future, real decisions, real relationships. That's why so many of us feel lost, confused, and bewildered as we get older in life from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 and look back and wonder, what did we learn? And that's because at school, we learn what to think, but not how to think. And the ideal education system has 3 elements. An ideal education is an education of the head, the heart, and the hand. Let me explain what I mean.
Please do.
The education of the head is what we already receive. Academics, knowledge of math, knowledge of English, science, history, geography. These subjects equip us with knowledge, ideas, thoughts. They educate our head. They make us understand things. They improve our memory when we learn them, when we're tested on them. These are all valuable skills for our future. The challenge is that's currently all we get.
I guess that's it. Yep.
The 2 that are often missed out are the heart and the hand. And education in the heart is understanding the values that lead to long-term growth and long-term success. Things like empathy, kindness, compassion, being able to have emotional intelligence, being able to be aware of yourself and aware of others around you, knowing how to communicate effectively, knowing how to respect others' beliefs and boundaries, knowing how to read in between the lines of other people's thoughts and emotions.
You good?
This education in the heart would save us so much time and so much energy and potentially even so much money, because so much of it is wasted because we've never been trained to understand ourselves or understand others.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And the final step is an education in the hand. Being able to give, being able to teach, being able to share. See, we remember when we're engaged and involved. We learn more when we're teaching. We learn more when we're giving, when we're experimenting, testing, trying things out. That's when we accelerate our growth and learning. It's not just when we're sitting back and waiting to hear ideas and thoughts. When we're taught how to learn, how to teach, and how to share, we're able to grow. We're able to enhance. We're able to start living far beyond what we ever imagined, because it allows us to have that opportunity to test ourselves in reality, to test ourselves with a real person. And therefore, the two parts of education that we missed out on at school are the two we should invest in for life. Think about who are the people that you want to be around that can help you grow your education of the heart, values that you want to live by, mindsets that you see proving to be successful in people's lives. And think about opportunities where you can make a difference in the lives of others. Gandhi said that we find ourselves when we lose ourselves in the service of others. When we use our skills to make a difference in the life of other people, we learn so much more about those skills. We learn so much more about ourselves, and we learn so much more about the meaning and fulfillment that comes from making a difference. Don't blame school, don't blame your parents, don't blame anything that stopped us from getting a full education. All we have to do is get an education in the head, the heart, and the hand. If at any point you feel like you're not growing, you're not moving forward, you're not feeling a positive boost, ask yourself, which of these three am I in need of? Because it's always going to be one or two of those three that you're missing. When you protect your purpose protects you. Now, I want to unpack that. What I mean by that is your purpose is like a rare jewel and a rare gemstone. And imagine you were walking around with the most expensive diamond or jewel in the world. How would you protect it? You wouldn't just wear it on your chest. You'd protect it. And so your purpose is like that. And guess what? People are going to tell you every day that that jewel is not worth anything. They're going to tell you that that jewel is actually valueless. It doesn't have any impact on your life. They're going to try and take away that value. They're going to tell you that there's another jewel out there that you need to have more value. I love the word. Look at the wording. Protect your purpose. You have to protect it. So what happens is your success grows. You get more opportunities, more ideas, more things coming your way. Temptations. But they can all take you away from your purpose. And to me, I'm repeating this for myself because I'm like, I just want to stick to what I was born to do. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it. I'm so happy I get to do it. And I want to keep protecting it. I don't want to get lost in the waves. You know, you don't want to just get chucked in the waves of the ocean and just get lost and just not know where you're going. So for me, when you protect your purpose protects you. The first thing is that purpose is like an adult, right? Finding your purpose is like an adult in terms of growth. Passion is like a teenager, but before you become a teenager, what are you? You're a child. Child is like the interest, and before you're a child, you're a baby. That's curiosity. So at the baby stage of passion, what you first need is curiosity. That curiosity turns into an interest, that interest turns into a passion, that passion turns into a purpose. For so many of us, we get stuck trying to be like, well, what's my passion? It's like saying, well, I should be a teenager before I'm even a baby. Let's first learn to crawl before we learn to walk or run or fly. So when we start that, we ask ourselves, what am I curious about? What could I watch documentaries about forever? What could I get excited about learning forever? What is it that I keep getting up to do even if I fail? What is it that I get motivated to learn about or hear about or read about or watch about even when I don't know so much about it? What are you naturally curious about and drawn towards in your life? That is the birthplace of your passion. It doesn't have to be a passion just yet. It just needs to be a curiosity or an interest. I'd say that when we first met, I clearly said to Radhi who I was, what I wanted to do in the world, and what that meant for a relationship. And so when we met, I said, you know, I want to serve the world. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know that I'm going to choose that above a lot of other things that maybe the people we're around are going to choose over their purpose. And I said, I don't know what my purpose is yet, but I know that that's my commitment and that's what I want to work on. And I'd say I've pretty much stayed the same in that I've always felt that way, and that's accelerated and escalated and elevated, but I'm pretty much the same. But I think the amazing thing is that when we first met, so many people would have ideas for Radhi. So they'd come to me and be like, you know, Radhi should start a restaurant, or Radhi should do this, or Radhi should do that. Because when we met, I was the ambitious one and driven one and focused one, and Radhi was the content one and satisfied one. And I realized that I loved her for being the way she was. And I wanted her to grow at her own pace, in her own time, if she wanted to. And then in the past couple of years, I've seen Radhi find herself and want to grow and put in the work and transform who she is. And that's wonderful to see too. And what I've realized in partnerships is that it's interesting. Often we want to be around people that are like us. But I always say to people, I would never want to date someone who's like me. In that I wouldn't want to find the female version of me and marry them. I want to find someone that is who they are and happy in their own skin. And Radhi's been happy with who she was then, and she's happy with who she is now. And that's what allows us to have that opportunity. And a lot of the credit to our relationship goes to her. When we were in New York, and my biggest priority in New York was setting her up.
Oh my gosh, she used to set me up on all these girl dates constantly.
Literally, I would try and find a list of girls in New York that I think she'd get along with. And then I'd DM them. And I'd be like, yeah, I think you and my wife would really get along. Like, you guys should hang out. Because I just felt so bad that she'd left her family because of me. And then now we were in New York. And I would be at work all day. I was at HuffPost at the time. And so I'd be at work from a 9 to 6 job and then come back in the evening. But then we might have a networking event. So much of my pressure on top of building my purpose was, is my wife happy? And I was just always conscious of that. And I just thought, if she's not happy, none of this matters. And so I was always trying to find the ways of figuring that out. I'm sure you've heard the phrase before, success is the best revenge. In my opinion, the best revenge is no revenge at all.
What? Why?
Revenge in Latin was often referred to as vindicta or injuria. And today, the dictionary definition shows revenge to be in a resentful or vindictive spirit. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear about words like resent, vindictive, injury, what I find is that you can't fix yourself by breaking someone else.
That's a good point.
It's so true that sometimes people cause us the greatest pain, the greatest suffering, the greatest betrayal, the greatest lack of trust, miscommunication, and almost destroy our insides. But when that happens, you have a choice to move forward or to destroy yourself further. See, when you think that success is the best revenge, or you want to take any revenge in any form at all, it's like holding a hot piece of coal, wanting to throw it at someone else. In the process of picking up that hot piece of coal, we burn our own palm, we burn our own hand. Even if we get to the point of chucking it at the person, we've already caused ourselves more pain, more strain, and more pressure simply by picking up the baggage of wanting to get our own back on someone, or wanting to take out that pain and pressure on another individual. We're now carrying that pain and pressure ourselves. And I know it's easier said than done. I know that it's difficult. But if someone has caused you pain, don't allow them to win by doing it to yourself again.
Not this time.
Remember, the person that broke you is not going to be the person to fix you. Your growth, your healing is totally up to you. And that's why the best revenge is no revenge at all. Beth Kanopik understands. 8 years ago, she lost her 16-year-old daughter, Liana, when suddenly and inexplicably, a virus Liana contracted migrated to her heart and could not be cured. After a tumultuous month in the hospital, Beth's vibrant, joyful, athletic daughter was gone. It's every parent's worst nightmare, and as you'd imagine, it catapulted Beth into what seemed like bottomless grief. And yet last year, something incredible happened. Beth gathered 14 other mothers in and around her Florida town who had all lost children for lunch. She says there wasn't a dry eye in the room, only the tears weren't from sadness. They were from joy. Somehow, each one of these mothers, some of whom had lost more than one child, were able to share positive, loving memories of their children, along with the beautiful ways their lives had changed as a result of their profound loss. Of course, every one of these women would rather have had their children back. But remarkably, they were able to take what had happened and allow something powerful to grow from it. As one of my good friends, Ray Dalio, says, pain plus reflection equals progress. When you were talking about the stories we tell ourselves, I think that's so important because there's a great study that I talk about in the book by Amy Wrzniewski from the Yale University. And what they found is that they tried to find a career that they felt people may find not sharing a positive story around. And they found that hospital cleaners or hospital workers potentially have one of the toughest jobs. And Rangan, you're a doctor, and I'm sure you've seen people having to do that work, and it's a tough job. And so they asked hospital workers how they defined their jobs. And the majority of them defined it as low skilled, defined it as insignificant, defined it as just a way to pay the bills, and that their job wasn't useful or their job wasn't important, and their role was basically described like the personnel manual. But then they asked another set of hospital workers, the same people who did the same jobs, different people who did the same jobs, and they said, how do you feel about your jobs? And these people had completely different views. They felt they were healers. They felt they were caretakers. They felt that they were able to transform the energy of the actual hospital. They felt that they were carers for the people there. And what they found is that these different people who did the same job were telling themselves a different story, and therefore they saw their role as integral to the healing of the patient. And because they saw their role as integral to the healing of the patient, they found the work that they did to be extremely meaningful. And that's crazy to think about it, that different people doing the same job could say different things about the same work. They're doing the same exact thing daily, but someone thinks it's meaningless and the other thinks it's so meaningful. And this was a term by Yale that was called job crafting. The ability to assign meaning where you see it, and all of a sudden your life becomes meaningful. So if you're sitting in a job right now that you hate, or if you've got a boss that you really don't like, or if you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in, if you can't leave for whatever reason right now because of COVID or lockdown or whatever it is, financial difficulties, if you can't leave and you really want to, one of the things I recommend you do is called job crafting from the Yale School of Management. That you start asking yourself, where can I find meaning in this? What can I learn? What can I adopt? What is this trying to teach me? And that's actually where gratitude can be applied to every place, because you start going, there is some value in this. I remember when I wanted to leave my corporate job and I wanted to live my passion and do what I do today. But I'm so grateful I was at my corporate job because I learned so much there that is so useful to me now. And we find it very easy to be grateful when things are going our way, but we find it very difficult to be grateful when things are not going our way. But what we have to learn to realize, which is a really hard lesson to realize, is that things are always going your way if you're moving in the right direction. Things are not going to always look like they're going your way, and they could still be going your way. We've all seen curses turn into gifts and gifts turn into curses. But the problem is, and this is the challenge, we have a projector up here of what we want life to look like. And then we have the reality of what life actually looks like. So there's this big discrepancy. And so sometimes you're actually going in the right direction, but because it doesn't look like your picture and your image of what it should look like, you work less, you become lazier, you become complacent, you try less harder because you're like, this doesn't look like the right direction. But you'll get to where you want in life, just not in the way you imagined it, if you keep going, if you keep pushing, if you keep learning. And that's what it means to be grateful in all areas of your life, is trying to, even in the toughest moment, even in a challenging situation, not gratitude like, oh, I'm so thankful to you for causing me the pain. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is saying to yourself, where is there meaning in this? Where is the lesson in this so I don't repeat this again? If I can be grateful in this challenging situation and I can experience gratitude at all times, then I'm always going to be coming at things from a positive space and positive energy.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Sadhguru, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
So wherever your desire is, that's where your mind will be. If you desire something intensely, your mind will be always there. Right now, you desire the cup, wrong place to be. You desire a goal. That's what you should desire when you're on the field, isn't it?